Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of MotoGP Mac. This is episode 4 of the podcast. Welcome back to Jake, and Sleepwalker has finally returned from his slumber. I believe you were hibernating. Some good stuff coming out this week in the news of what's been going on in MotoGP. Sleep, you have a lot of road racing updates, what you've been watching. Again, thanks very much for the footage. A lot of people are liking and enjoying that, which is you can't actually beat it, I don't think. Sitting on the side of a ditch, eating a sandwich, and bikes flying past 140 miles an hour.
Seems definitely my happy place.
Yeah, definitely. And look, there's a lot more, and they're coming quite thick and fast actually this month. But what we'll do is I will put a timestamp in when we're going to talk about road racing. If you're into road racing, don't miss out on this. Also, if you want to take part in the podcast, just send me an email. You can make a guest appearance, give your thoughts, let us know what you think on different topics. If we argue or disagree about anything in the conversations or chats, that's absolutely fine. It's cool. Let's have an argument or a chat live, well, not live, but on the podcast. Everyone's view is valid. Do you know what I mean? Everyone is a fan of some team, some bike, some rider, and happy to always facilitate a chat or whatever on that. So if you're interested, don't be afraid to email me on motogpmac@gmail.com, and we'll get you in on a session, and we can view or have an argument about what's right or what's wrong. Probably start an argument now with no one is actually ever wrong unless it's wrong, but everyone's entitled to their views. And look, Joe, that's what the whole channel is about. Designed realistically that it's buddies down a pub, having a beer, watching a race, talking a little shit. So without further ado, I do remember last week we talked about Marquez, and I did see a picture earlier than in that week with him with his arm out of the sling. I will just let you know that we're filming this on Tuesday, the 19th of July. So there may have been differences or updates from when we have shot this. But yeah, he went live on Instagram on Friday. I don't know, did any of you see it? But he was just removing the sling and saying, now I'm back in physiotherapy and training, which is good. But saying that September is only realistically 8 weeks away, do you know what I mean? That is to be ready for that test. So I know you can do a lot in 8 weeks.
He's had the operation.
Jeez, I'd say it's about what,
about a month.
It's about 4 to 6 weeks. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a long time for
physiotherapy.
He's in physio, yeah. So
they showed him doing physio with the holding about an ounce in each hand.
Yeah.
So he was still, and when they pulled his hands up, the instructor, he looked a little bit in pain, like ouch, But yeah, that's to be expected.
Yeah,
or maybe he was just surprised.
I don't think he can take any of it at face value anyway. After the last time, I'm sure he was right, he wasn't right, he's right, he's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The proof will be in the pudding when he sits on a bike.
Yeah, I think so, and I think I just hope that he stays patient, gives himself the opportunity to heal, get better. I know Honda wants him on the bike. Well, Pooch wants him on the bike as soon as possible. I know his team have said, Mark will do what's when he's ready. He's there, but I just really hope he takes that into place. But Honda, I think, have been very quiet about it. All in all, I think, do you know what I mean? Like the Honda Japan haven't mentioned anything. Like Pooch is saying, "Oh, we want him on the bike," but I think we'll wait and see. I do think he'll be there in Lozano for the test. Whether he'll be riding competitive laps, I don't know. will he be going out for a little poo-poo just to see what does the new bike feel like? I think so. Do you know what I mean? But I don't expect anything massive. But I suppose speaking of Honda, the announcement today with Rins and Grassini, what do you think of that?
I'm happy Rins has a seat anyway.
Yeah.
I like Rins.
I'm gonna buy stock in Johnson & Johnson bandages between Ren's being a crasher and getting to a Honda.
Yeah, I'm okay. Let's take the chassis out of it. I'm very keen to see how he'll deal with the V4 compared to the inline four. I think that's going to be a real one for him. Like if he gets off that bike at the at the Valencia test, like, and the eyeballs are like wide, and his thing is that fear of the engine or the chassis. We'll figure it out. Like, going from the Suzuki, which does turn, has a nice power band, to a Honda that doesn't really turn, and has a really aggressive power band. It'll definitely, I suppose, be interesting to see how he can deal with that. I still stand by. I would foresee him on a Yamaha. I think that's his style. I don't think he's the aggressive rider.
No, Dovi went from a V4, a highly experienced rider, going from a V4 to an inline four, and it hasn't worked out at all. Making the switch.
Yeah, to the inline four, but like I'd look at the timeline for Maverick for Rins to Maverick. Do you know what I mean? Like, with Maverick on the Aprilia, it took him the bones of a year to get the grips coming from an inline four to a V4 engine. Will that be the same for Rins? Do you know what I mean? So realistically, if it is,
but it wasn't that. That's a one-off thing. He loved Assen. They said that was Maverick's track. Was it a one-off thing? We don't know yet.
He was doing well in the Saxon Ring as well, to be fair, before the bike let him down. Do you know what I mean? He was up and around 4th place, and he had a pig of a season, or the year before he finished last or second last on the Yamaha around Saxon Ring. So, I'm not saying that everything is fixed for Maverick, but I just think he's on an upward trend. Do you know what I mean? It seems he's starting to understand it. Whether that's 2 tracks that he just likes, and we'll see in Silverstone. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he likes Silverstone too much. It's a little bit too flat. But we'll wait and see. I do think.
I think Rins is one big thing going from is he tries really hard. So,
that he does.
He's crashing. He's crashing because he's trying, and I know I got a bit of feedback about this in comments from people, and saying like, you don't want to see riders crashing. And the whole point here is that, I just feel as a racer, every time you go out onto that track, you have to leave 110% there. It's not 100%, it's 110%. Come off that track as a racer and be like, did I give my 100% maximum? And it's not that I want to see Morbidelli crashing every race. That's not what I mean. But the method, what I was saying is that if you're crashing, you're trying.
Yeah, the odd one would kind of wouldn't be too bad either, like,
Yeah. 90% of these
here or there, maybe just pushing it a little bit too hard,
pushing it into the corners.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't want to turn, doesn't want to go in.
Yeah.
Like Davi said that Morbidelli brakes far later than he does, right? So he's going into the corners that little bit hotter. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I would expect someone that's going in a little bit hotter more often than not to get cut out. Do you know what I mean? Compared to, say, Davi. And where my mindset is with Morbidelli, and I'll be very open with this. Behind me, there's a big picture of a Yamaha. There's Rossi's helmet and all of this, right? So I am a Yamaha fan. If I was to choose my manufacturer, that would be the one that I want to see. Steve Barber has disappeared for a minute. He's not a fan of Yamaha, obviously. But I don't want to see Yamaha down the back. Not at all. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I'm saying, Joe, and that's why I'm very hard on Yamaha, is that, I don't like the way they've fallen into the Honda loophole. That they have a bike that only one rider can run. People have said it's always been like this. It hasn't. Do you know what I mean? Even Ben Spies could ride that Yamaha quite quick. So you had,
and he was heavy.
And he was heavy. You had Colin Edwards up against Rossi, and he was still in the top 5. That's what I mean. It's not that you have 1 and 2 riders, number 1 and number 2, but you would consistently have someone that is in the top 5 or in the top 10 every race. Do you know what I mean? That's what I mean, a number 2 rider. Someone down in 14th, 15th, 16th is not a number 2 rider in my view.
Okay. I told somebody the other day, I said, the mark of a bike is when you see one, even if you see one guy winning, if you don't see other riders doing well or placing well, you know it was the rider that won that race, not the bike.
Exactly. Yeah. And look, that's where I just hold Yamaha to a very, very high standard. And that's what I want to see out of it. Welcome back, Sleep.
Welcome back, Sleep.
No, but we
offended you.
No.
We turned woke on us and left.
No, not at all. No, I'm just highly disorganized.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Boy, we're in trouble now.
But anyway, that's where I am with Yamaha. It's just very straight out. It's not that I hate Morbidelli. I actually love Morbidelli. I think he's one of the coolest characters on the grid. But I know myself, when you start to become uncompetitive, which he is right now. Do you know what I mean? 2020 or 2020, he had a great year. 2021, not so great. Broke his leg or hurt his knee or whatever it was. And then, Joe, since he came back at the end of 2021 on the works Yamaha, hasn't clicked. Do you know what I mean? And we can hope he can come back to it. We can hope Yamaha are going to give him what he needs, but it's highly unlikely. And it must be soul destroying to be finishing in a full factory works team 15th, and if you look at it in the championship, out of the 6 manufacturers, is it 6? 5, 6?
No, we're down to 5.
No, we're 6 currently, isn't it?
Well, currently, yeah. 3 and 3. 3 European, then 3 and 3, yeah. But you know what? I've never, being an athlete, I've never seen anybody bust a knee that didn't, because you're always on your knees, where they didn't have to have 5 or 6 different operations. I wonder if the knee, how many times have you seen a knee stay good? And I don't know under their situations how bad their knees get, how much pressure they put on it. I worry about Martin's wrist, Jorge Martin. Because I know you're on your wrist the whole time, and wrists are another one that can go bad.
Yeah, and that's nerve damage as well, which is can be very tricky.
Oh yeah. Sleep. I can't feel my feet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but
exactly, and it's just one of those things that I just like. It's not that I'm hating on Yamaha. It's actually the opposite way around. As I mentioned, I hold them to a very high standard because they had, in my view, they had it right, Joe. Like. They had Lorenzo and Rossi both fighting at the front of the field, both work spikes. Even with Spies, Colin Edwards, all of those guys, even though that they weren't up the front, they were close enough. You didn't regularly see them outside the top 10. And that's where I was talking about when I was talking about Yamaha and Honda have the same issue. For years, Honda built a bike around a person, Marc Marquez.
And it still stunk. It still stunk. It's not get anybody.
but no one else could ride it, right?
Yeah.
When they last, the only other person that I ever seen that is able to get the best out of the Honda consistently was Pedrosa.
Yeah. Right. And he was the one that developed the first the RCV 13. It wasn't Marquez. Marquez was in Moto 2, if you remember correctly, right? Everybody thinks it was Marquez was on that bike. But every manufacturer has a downturn or a bad moment. At least Yamaha, when they say something, you can believe them. If they have a downturn, they'll say, we're having a downturn. There's we'll get it right. So you at least have some faith in them. It's not the BS, it's great. Then you have to have, Crafar to come down and have an interview with Poog. What do you call Poog? And you have to lie Pooch and have him lie to him and have to drill him to go. And finally the guy goes, oh, well, yeah, it is bad. What do you know? That type of thing.
You can't trust a word that comes from them.
Yeah.
You can't. And now, speaking of risky decisions, like we have Rins on the Honda, but it's still concerning. Mir hasn't announced, or there's been no announcement on Mir's one yet. Now, maybe that's not going to be until the week before or week of the race in Silverstone, or maybe. And I heard a rumor the other day, guys, and I think you know this, is that they're talking maybe Oliveira could be in for a shout of that seat. What do you think? What do you think? Would you think? Like, I suppose my initial thought in it was, well, you took one KTM rider already, and it didn't work out so great.
Yeah.
Why would you do that again? But what do you think, maybe, guys, of what's going on with Mir, the whole contract delay talks? Do you think they're having cold feet? Do you think it's his recent results? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go to HRC. So I don't. I think if Rins didn't get the HR seat and went to LCR, I don't think Mir is going to end up on a HRC seat. So I don't.
Do you think he's afraid of being a career killer? Where they go, oh, that's it, you're done? Like, they'll blame him instead of the bike?
Well, we know Rins didn't go to Gresini because he only wanted a factory bike, right? And that's what Honda promised him, right? But yeah, look, I don't know. Like, is it a problem with Mir, or is it a problem with Mir's results of late? That have Honda kind of second guessing, kind of going, is this guy right for us?
That's what I think. Yeah.
Well,
Honda needs another really, really good rider. Honda need a really, really good rider to come in now. Someone who's able to win races consistently. Like, someone who's able to try and work around the fact that the bike is a pig and doesn't really want to work. They need someone.
So, question I have actually
stronger than Mir.
For you guys, right? If you're a MotoGP rider and you have a choice of two bikes, you have a choice of the Honda, full works Honda, or a KTM. What would you go for?
Oof. KTM. Because at least KTM, at this point, they set a base setting, and if they get lucky enough to get the fine settings right, they have a chance at least of making a race without killing yourself going on a bend.
I think KTM as well. Yeah, I think it's still too difficult to try and get in, and Marquez is going to be the man at Honda as long as he's there, and they're always going to be the second rider.
I think because look, I'm doing some research, going through all of these things, and this is where I suppose I think Ghost put it kind of in a way last week that the KTM bike is a pig, right? But I was looking through the championship, right, and this is where I was getting a little bit hot and bothered over Morbidelli, right? That the KTM bike is a pig, right? But two of the riders have more points than Morbidelli had, right? On a factory Yamaha, do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think I would probably take the KTM as well, being honest, over the Honda. I think you have more, like, now, saying that both KTM and Honda's team managers are both
rough.
Yeah, well, look, I think it'd be very hard to get the truth out of them. Do you know what I mean? Even on their deathbed, they still couldn't be saying that they're dying. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's very hard to judge. You can't really build up trust either in them. Do you know what I mean? You're doing a great job. 2 days later, you're sacked. Like, do you know what I mean? But anyway, going back with Honda, okay, so if you don't think Mir, then who do you think would go?
It only leaves Oliveira, doesn't it? Unless they go outside MotoGP and take someone up from Moto2.
Moto2, yeah.
How it's hard to judge how the raw speed of Oliveira. I mean, can you really say he's that fast? It's hard to judge.
I think before Pedro Acosta broke his leg, I think Pedro Acosta would have been the one for them to try and sign and take him up there and try and work with him there for a couple of years there and get him up to speed on the bike and see if he can be the next Marc Marquez. I think it's a bit of a gamble, but they need something. They need someone.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought that they were going to bring Acosta into LCR. That was, I think, before the whole Suzuki thing happened. I really thought that was going to be a plan.
I would have given the factory seat, so I would have. I'd just given the factory seat.
I don't know, is he ready for that though?
Probably not. No. But give him 2 years.
Yeah. I think he needs some time, especially his age.
Expecting him to do anything in the first year.
Yeah.
But halfway through the second season on the bike there,
I expect him to crash. I would like his rookie year. I expect him to crash at least once a weekend. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's.
But Marquez always done that as well. That was Marquez's thing. Marquez would go out and he would push until he loses the front in some corner in free practice, and then he just wouldn't do it in the race or in qualifying.
Yeah, well, look, that's a perfect time to crash, isn't it?
Yeah, that
when
was
it. Doesn't
matter. It was nearly every race. And he pushed and find the limit, and then he knew where it was, and that was that.
Yeah. I just think it was just look. It's just really interesting to see, and I do want to break off a small bit there as well, because I want to acknowledge that Johnny Ray signed another 2-year deal with Kawasaki today. I don't know if you see that. Yeah. It's good to see him. Good to see him back. Would have loved to seen Ray in Moto 2 or MotoGP in more.
Yeah, I did.
I think he earned it. Unfortunately, he was just with the wrong manufacturer when he showed the world how good he actually was.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, with Rins, but it kind of leads actually open back to MotoGP, obviously. But if Oliveira's in for the seat with Honda, just say, then who would go to Aprilia? Would that be Mir? Would that be who's out there that you think could go there?
I guess it would be Mir. He's the only one left, I can think.
I'd probably get murdered by people for saying this, right? But what do you think about Fernandez and Binder, Darren Binder?
I feel sorry for Binder. The controversy. He hates me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a controversy. They hate me,
Yeah, because I was thinking this the other day, because like Aprilia came out and said, that it's going to be a team for younger riders, right? Fernandez is in there. A lot of people think Fernandez is out of MotoGP next year. Could very well be. Is he my favorite rider? Look, he is a rookie. But I just think he was just. Did he expect too much out of himself? So what I mean. But look, I think that if Oliveira does go to Honda, I'm not sure Aprilia will take Mir. Because what they said is that this is going to be a team for younger riders. So it's more so like a junior.
How old is Mir? He's now Methuselah. What is he, 20, 28?
Yeah, but sure, he's grey hairs and all at that stage. Showing that's rider. You know what I mean? But look, I think it's just
a few new faces, will we?
I think we could. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that's surprising. And obviously, look, I think it would be a shame if Mir left the championship. Being very honest, I still have a sinking feeling that he will go to Honda. I wouldn't like him to go to Honda personally. I think he needs a bike with front ends, in my opinion. And like you see, when they put horsepower through that Suzuki, they've lost the front end, they've lost their way. And I think that's been what's happening with his results of late.
Yep.
And that is
why the big delay in announcing then, or even announcing that they're in talks?
Well, we had one person comment that it won't be announced till the 1st of August, which I think is quite late. But I don't know. I just think it could be Honda Japan saying to Pooch, like, you've got to be right this time. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe.
And it could be the comparison between Mir and Oliveira for speed, because MotoGP seems to be looking for raw speed lately, more so than experience.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, look, that's the famous saying. Like, you know what I mean? You can make a fast car reliable, but you can't make a reliable car fast.
Mm-hmm. And the other one, what is the other one? It's easier to make a fast rider stop crashing than a slow rider go faster.
Yeah. And like that, and that's where it is. And talk about stop crashing. Sleep. You know, one of the places you don't want to crash is on the roads, obviously. So
no, definitely not. No, God, no.
So you've had a few weeks where you've had some fun traveling the roads and sitting on the ditch. So how were things going there? What did you see? Who did you meet?
Yeah, well, it was off for a few years, as most people would probably know, because of COVID. So we decided we were going to try and do as many as we could this year, and we started at the Northwest. I didn't go to Tandragee, which was the one before that, because the weather was really, really bad, and I just kind of had a feeling it was going to bring a lot of flags, you know. So and that's what happened, and it was called off, so we didn't go to that one. But we started at the Northwest, and that one was very wet as well. And sure, as you've seen, Michael Dunlop had the issues with tires, and other boys had issues with tires and all that crack. So yeah, we were there that night when all that happened. So we were. But yeah, the next one then we were back down to it was obviously the TT, but there was the national road races in Ireland then after that, and we started at Kells, which is in County Meath there, and yeah, it's just brilliant. Kells now did take a bit of a turn on race day. There was a red flag, and there was a rider that was killed at that event, so there was, but unfortunately, but yeah, that one, there was the next one, and after that then would have been Skerries, which was absolutely brilliant. There was no hassle at all, you know, and yeah, it's just great to be.
Skerries, the footage, it's unreal.
Oh, Skerries was brilliant, you know. The weather was great, like, so you know, the speeds were up. There was big crowds there. Yeah, it was just great, like, you know. You have the local man there, Mick O'Sweeney, is from Skerries, and he was going really well and won a few races, you know. So that really, the crowds were loving that kind of stuff, you know. But yeah, no, it's great. Like, the last one we done then was Faugheen down in Tipperary. Well, actually, the one before that was Walderstown, and Michael Dunlop was at that. He came down and turned up out of blue and won 3 races, so he did, and he was away then to the Southern 100. But then it was Tipperary this week down at Faugheen. So we went down then Friday night with the caravan, and we were there for practice and race day, so we were, and yeah, we were there for the weekend.
You have the farmer's tan because we have a heat wave here in Ireland. So you
have
one right arm, yeah.
See that?
Yeah,
we had sun cream on Saturday, so it did, yeah. But, FHO Racing's Brian McCormick, you know, Peter Hickman's teammate. He turned up down there. That would be his kind of local race now. He's from Waterford, so he turned up with the FHO BMW, and he won the first big race, so he did. And he, I was watching the grand final, and he was going real well in the grand final. There was himself. Mick O'Sweeney was first. There was, I can't remember who was second, and he was third right on the back wheel a second. And the next lap he didn't come round, so he didn't. And I was talking to him afterwards, and he said he hit a neutral, and he just lost a bit of time there. So I know it would have been a really great race, but Mick O'Sweeney won that race fairly comfortably then in the end.
Class. And next week, 2 weeks time, next week, not this weekend, the following weekend is Armagh.
Armagh, Race of Legends up in Armagh, yeah, that should be a fairly good one now. I know Guy Martin is coming on over for that one, and Jamie Coward as well, who was going really well at the TT, is going to be over for that as well. And maybe Michael Dunlop might be there too. Like, you know, he is a fairly massively impressive record at Armagh. I think he's won like 11 times in a row there or something, one of the races. It's crazy.
Yeah. I do actually want to just give out a shout out actually to the Manxman as well. When we were covering the TT, he was actually able to. He lives and creates stuff on the Isle of Man itself, but he was able to give us more insight onto what was going on and when flags would come out and stuff like that. But he also sent me over some footage of the Southern 100 that we could use. So I just want to give a big shout out to him for that. I'm actually really excited
great to see that footage.
Yeah, it was really good, and the footage was really class as well. I'm really excited about Armagh. I think that's going to be some race, especially if some some of the bigger ones. It normally attracts some of the bigger riders to it as well. After that, we have the Munster 100 here in Cork.
Your local one, Mac?
My local one that's 20 minutes away from me, and I'm actually going to be away that weekend, which, Anyway, we won't talk about that, because I'd get my nuts chopped off if I suggested that I go back to that from holidays, so...
There's actually a guy there from Cork, Anthony Ellis, who has I'll have to check it out there, but he's actually got some onboard footage, Irish Road Racing Chronicles, but he's a Cork man and he's got some onboard footage up on his YouTube page there from a couple of local road races he was down in Faheen there. It's very, very good. He's actually got some brilliant footage from Walderstown up, so he has well worth a watch. There's a great battle there in the races.
I've actually seen that one, I actually did watch that. I thought, it's really good. And then in August, I think it's one of the last road races of the season, is the Classic TT, or the Manx TT. I think they've merged together now, or the Manx Grand Prix. I did watch Lee Johnson is actually bringing an RC45 and an old Yamaha TZR 500 to it. I'll be very honest, I actually nearly favour the old Yamaha compared to the RC45. It just looks pure old school.
What colour is the TZR, Mac?
It's black and white.
It's black and
white. But it's a real classic design. But he was saying afterwards that normally when you get on the old classic bikes, they don't go well, they don't stop well, they're loud. And they were testing in the United Kingdom, so they had to have mufflers on when it gets to the TT. He's like, this thing will have no mufflers on it, so it'll be a straight through pipe and you can't hear yourself think on it. But he was just saying, as a classic bikes go, it was really good on how it went and stopped. And I think it's run by Davies Motorsport or whatever, but it looks absolutely mint.
I think they were the first bike to run the twin front discs, were they? Would you know that, Jake?
I'm trying to figure out your language, and I don't even know what bike you're running, because you with your Z instead of Z.
My apologies, Jake, for speaking proper English.
I know. I know what you're going to say. We invented it. God damn it, we're English. You're doing it wrong, which is correct.
I'll just take a drink from my aluminum can.
Spell color.
Tires with a Y, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That is exactly it. But look, I suppose, the Classic TT. It's probably one of my favorites actually to watch. I love watching the old smokers come out.
So you were talking about a TZ 500. Yeah, okay, I know what you. I had the old CZ 750. I owned one. Class. Yeah, and I had to try to throughout the video. I had it transferred. I took out a homely girl. I had her put plates on it from Harrisburg. Then I put an airplane light with a magneto light on it. So we turned on, it just blinded everybody. But it was so hard to ride in the street. I had to get rid of it because it was a mess.
It's a race bike. But again, look, I can't wait to see the old 500s out, because I was actually watching old TT races during the week, and I saw I think it was like from 98 or 99, I can't remember, and so there was the four stroke V twins versus, and next to it up comes a fella on a TZR 500, old two-stroker. It's just like, give that man respect, like, you know what I mean?
Well, that's one of the best things about the road racing, is the way the classes are done. There's so many there's such a different variety of bikes. Like there's 250 Moto 3 bikes there, like 4-stroke, there's 125 2-stroke bikes, like, there's all sorts of stuff out there. So there is, it's be good, but the classic bikes has be some great racing to watch. It's definitely the loudest.
Definitely, yeah. And actually, though, if you ever go to a MotoGP race and you sit in the grandstand, the Moto 3 is definitely more than the MotoGP bikes gone past. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's much more of them, and they're all clumped together, right? So instead of like kind of like there's like, and you're just like, oh Jesus, like
a swarm of angry bees.
Yeah. But look, it's definitely cool. So look, you're gonna like, how long then is like Armoy? Like you go up in the caravan, you stay there for the weekend, or what's the story with that?
Yeah, it's there. It's really handy. Like, you know, you find out where the circuit is. Along the circuit somewhere will be the paddock, and normally the paddock with the riders they'll stay. There'll be usually another field for marshals or whoever's there, you know, helping run the event, and then there's a campsite set up for the people who just want to go and camp and stay for the weekend. It's the local farmers. The local farmers are really good to the clubs. They open up the bit of land there, you know. You pay your 25 euros there, you rock in with the caravan, and we take the 3 kids and that, like, you know, and the dog, and that's it. You're there for the weekend.
I'd say
buy your race pass, and you practice qualifying all day Saturday, and then you've like there Sunday there they ran 11 races on Sunday, and there was a non-championship race ran on Saturday evening. So it's just it's hectic.
But
you know?
I'd say that some crack though in the camping or in the field at night then as well. I'd say you'd have some laugh with the boys, like.
It's great crack, and I tell you, I'll give you a little story there. There was a boy we bumped into there on the Saturday night, and he had no cigarettes, and there was no shops around. So I gave him a bit of tobacco, so I did to keep him going, you know. And he was well on, like he was on the beer, and we were having a barbecue, and myself and the missus there were cooking up a bit of food there, and we were having a couple of beers as well. So that was grand anyway. So he was well on now, and he was very, very happy that he had a few cigarettes to smoke, you know. So that was all. He headed off then. We get up the next morning at 10 o'clock. There was 2 bottles of Lucozade and 2 bags of sausage rolls left sitting outside the caravan on the step.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah, he went and got his cigarettes then in the shop, but it opened at 6:30 in the morning, and left a wee care package, like, you know. But that's the kind of stuff that'd be going on. Like, it's very good. Like,
see, in America, you'd wake up and you'd be robbed. You wouldn't have wheels in the caravan; they'd be on blocks. You know what I mean?
Well, funny enough, you say that actually. While we were having the barbecue, someone came running by the back of our caravan, flying, like, you know, and that was grand. And next thing, 2 or 3 minutes later, a couple of other boys came up there, and it turns out there was a couple of boys had been stealing down in the paddock, and they were trying to catch them, but apparently there was 4 of them, and 2 of them were caught, but the stuff was stashed, and I don't know whether the lads who were looking for found their stuff or whatever, but it was really bad to hear that now.
I suppose it's the good and the bad of it, but look, it's definitely something, like even like my days racing was, the weekend, it was actually the weekend you're actually going more for the crack, and you just an occasional bit of racing in between it, you know what I mean? But like, you'd be out once the racing is done, letters are hung up, and it's so like sitting out having a barbecue with beer in your hands, sitting cracking jokes and talking shit all night, like, you know what I mean? And holding your breath in for the breathalyzer in the morning when you're about to go racing again. Like,
there's that now. We stayed on the Sunday night for the first time, and we weren't the only ones. There was plenty who stayed on the Sunday night and went to the pub and had a few pints, and there was music on down in the pub, and then they came back up and had a few drinks and that. Like,
exactly, you know. Yeah, man. Fucking, I remember racing, especially in the go-karts. Like, and you go to the local disco there above in Nace, like, and you get the old taxi back, or you sleep in the car or the van or whatever, and you wake up the next morning, and then you have to go racing, and you have to go through scrutineering, and you're hoping that your man doesn't fucking realise that you're the driver of the car because you're smelling a drink. You know what I mean? And next thing you get out, and you could imagine in a go-kart, you know, there's no suspension, you are the suspension, right? And you're full of drink from the night before. Like, if you can make it past turn 3 or turn 4 without getting out and getting the
he's off, he crashed up, he's just even.
And like, it used to be common that we used to do it, actually. But look, those were different eras, you know what I mean? It's just like, I always remember years ago, a friend of mine's dad was 2-time All-Ireland champion in motorbikes, like, and his son was saying, Joe, there's something wrong with the bike, and he was like, no, there's nothing wrong with that bike. It was a brand new Honda RS 250, right? Nothing wrong with that bike. And he's just coming out of the bar, like, and he put on a set of leathers and the helmet, and he went out and he lapped faster than the son on the bike. And he's like, told you there's nothing wrong with that bike. Back in for the pint, like, you know what I mean? Those were different eras of things, but Yeah, listen, look, thanks so much look, again for all the footage. Everything is brilliant, and like,
oh no, more than happy to provide it. You know, it's great to get it out there and let people from around the world see it who don't get to have road racing in their country. I think it's we're very lucky that we do have it, and you can go and get into a field there and be like not no more than 20 yards from the track, you know, and racing's going on all day. And another highlight of the weekend, they got a picture of the wee girl sitting there on the one of the FHO BMWs, you know. Would have been
that's the other thing, is like the paddocks are so accessible for people. Like, so I mean, you can walk up and talk to a rider, not a batter. Like, you know.
Yeah, well, like as I said, I had Brian McCormick on the FHO BMW for the grand final. I just thought, you know, the way he was going, he'd had it. And as I said, when he came round, then he lost a load of places, and he made a few back because the lad is a rocket, like, you know. But I bumped into him then at the prize giving, and you could just walk up and just said, what happened? Then you get the full story from the rider himself there. He just said, I hit a neutral there, and that was that, you know. But that's how the access you would have, like, you know, once you go in there and you show respect and that, like, you know, it's great, like, you know.
When I see the Northwest 200, I don't know how in God's name you go 200 miles on a street. You got to be like such good shape or wore out. You got to, that race is done. You got to be just wasted out. You know,
I went up for that, and we watched that now. So we did down around Black Hill and all that. And I've only seen a small bit of the course, but I actually was up again a few weeks after that. Just myself and the missus went up to that area just for the weekend, and I drove the circuit, and the circuit is absolutely unbelievable. The length of the straights, that run down into Metropole there, like, you know, I know they put chicanes and that in. It is savage. It is savage. Like for the 9 miles, you must be spending at least 7 of them, or like you're 75% rate percent of the time you're pinned. You're just flat out. It's just unbelievable. Like, it's unbelievable.
It is, and it's definitely on. You should, if you haven't been there, it's on your bucket list to go there and just sit there. You don't have to walk miles. You just sit up there and just sit in the ditch and watch the bikes go past, and the sound and the air pressure of the whole lot of them coming past it, like when you're coming up along a straight, you will actually feel it.
You can feel the heat of the exhaust.
Yeah. It's like a fucking firework going off next to you. Like, I mean, that flash of heat you get is just.
There's a couple of the circuits there, like Scaries. If you can get up around Joey Sweep there, they come out of Finnegan's Corner, so they do, and then big 1000cc bikes are just on it coming out of that corner, and they come around a long right-hander. And they must be well up over 100 miles an hour, like, you know, and they're just leaned right over coming towards you. It's just, it's a sight to see, you know. It really is a sight to see.
Yeah, it is crazy, and look, it is probably the most dangerous version of motorbike racing there is, and you know, like, look, people do unfortunately lose their lives on it, but.
Well, it's racing.
It is racing, but they know what they're doing. So I mean, they're getting into the sport willingly, and so this is how they get their enjoyment in life. So I'm sure if they could get the same enjoyment out of knitting a lovely blanket, they would knit a lovely blanket. Do you know what I mean? But this is how they do it, and you know. Yeah.
But you look at, as soon as you drive one of them circuits there, or walk around one of them circuits, or cycle around one of them circuits, it's plain to see what you're up against, you know. You couldn't be under any illusions of what's going to happen if something goes wrong.
No. And look, even as a road, riding a bike on the road, you know, throwing your leg over the bike, those things could happen. Throw a truck, you get hit by a bus walking across the road, never mind anywhere else, and it's all about that. But you know, I absolutely genuinely love road racing. I don't have the talent to do it myself, but I love watching people who do have the talent. To do it. But yeah, look, thanks a million for bringing it up today. I guess, look, next week, obviously, there's no racing actually this weekend. I think it's just PSP is on this week in Olsen Park, I think, which is actually not a bad racetrack, actually. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there for this week, gents. Thank you so much for coming on.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see everyone next week.
No problem. Thanks for having us, lads.
I just want to take a minute to also thank you for watching my videos and the support that you've shown so far. If you haven't subscribed already and you would like to subscribe, it would mean an awful lot to me if you did. I'm starting this channel realistically so that we can all enjoy MotoGP together, with the aim of streaming a live video when the GP races are on.